Hello and welcome to our baseball podcast. What do you think about that intro, by the way? It's pretty good stuff, I think.
Oh, I thought that was fantastic.
Maybe we could change it up and have a little bit, different songs like intro songs for us. But well, for those new or coming back to us, hello, my name is Adrian Paredes, and I play Dynasty League Baseball in the EJMA and the SNBL, and I'm a big baseball fanatic.
And I'm David Hooten. I'm with the EJMA Rangers. I'm excited to talk Major League Baseball, EJMA Baseball, and Dynasty Baseball.
Yes, all passions of ours. This is our second podcast, and this is something we want to do on the regular. And we want to have guest hosts come on every once in a while that are different topics, if they're welcome to join us. And we want your feedback too. So if you're watching this video online and you have some thoughts and you disagree with something we say, give us a comment. I want to hear it. I want to hear what you think. This is a talking sport, as we say. And, we have some changes in our league that we're in. David and I are both in the EJMA together, have been for many years. I've been off and came back on. And last year, actually not this last season, but the year before, he and I met, of course, in the EJMA World Series, went head to head, and he won, and I lost, but it was a good series and a good season for both of us. So we have some changes this offseason. We have a couple new owners and a departing owner.
We do. First, the departing owner. We're going to miss Dave Carey. A great guy. Great to have conversations with him. We wish him well. I know he's still on our Slack as a friend of the EJMA Baseball. We're glad he's still going to be around. We have two new owners. Jacob was an interim owner last year, and now he's a full-time owner this year. He has the Tampa Bay Rays. And then we have Jeremy now, our new owner, who's taken over Atlanta and has moved them to Philadelphia. So welcome, Jeremy.
Yeah, welcome. I played with Jeremy many years ago in the CBL, long time ago. And I remember him from there. And some of the guys in the league, like Al, remember him from there as well. So, we're so much younger then.
And we have the gray hair to show it.
And we do have the gray hair to show it, Anyway, but we have a few topics we want to dive into. And we're going to switch things up in our podcast, talk about different hot things. If we're coming up very soon, we're coming up on spring. And I think draft season is almost upon us. And I want to talk about the draft a little bit for the EJMA. And it's not just for the EJMA, it's for baseball in general. Depending on how your league drafts, there's different prospects available in different drafts. For the EJMA, we put anyone who's coming in like that, a foreign player, goes into the draft. And that's been a really big debate. But if you're just playing fantasy baseball, it's a topic too. I mean, how are the new guys going to come in and do? We have, some Japanese and Korean imports coming in, namely Munetaka Murakami. We have Kazuma Okamoto, and we also have Tatsuya Imai. What do you think of those guys, David?
Well, you said those better than I could have. I think they're intriguing players. I've done it before, taking uncarded import players, and sometimes it hasn't worked out. I remember I thought Daisuke Matsuzaka would be the greatest thing when I took him 2 overall, and that didn't quite work out for me. I think I had Hideki Rabu at some point, but I think there's 3 very intriguing players. There's even a 4th that might go a little bit later too, but with the draft, with these picks, you're dreaming of upside. You're not getting anything for this season on the card, but all 3 of these guys can make a pretty big impact in the major leagues this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I mean, because Japanese players don't always translate. In particular, the hitters and some of the relievers I've noticed. Like if you're a middle reliever in the Japanese leagues, you come over, you might struggle. Or you could be great. It's really kind of a hit and miss thing. The hitters, to me, the guys who've hit for power in Japan haven't always hit for power in the United States, I've noticed. And I wonder, like a guy like Murakami, who is, he had a great press conference when we went to Chicago, and he said, I hit power, is what he said. That's his English he learned.
I love it. Straight and to the point.
Yes, I hit power. And
what do you think about him deciding to go to the White Sox? Was that a surprising move, do you think? Or do you think that was a good fit to keep the pressure modest? And he only got 2 years, so maybe he could adjust and then hit the market.
I think it's a great move. I mean, they have a young team. They have a lot of talent everywhere. But they could use a guy with a big pop in the bat. I mean, they can take a chance on him and do it safely. And it's not a huge risk for them to take on Murakami. If he pans out and hits well, and they don't play well, he can trade him. But if he doesn't hit well, it's only a 2-year contract.
Yeah, and I think the pressure of going to the Yankees or Dodgers or a team like that's going to depend on him for media production is a lot. And I think he's going to come over, and he'll probably struggle a little bit at first, but I think it's a great opportunity for him to make an impact for that team. So I thought that was a great signing for them. I was excited to see that they're not necessarily a small market in Chicago, but a team that struggled made a big play and got him.
Yeah, and it's good for him. It's smart on his part because he's going to get playing time there. He's going to be able to come right out there and hit, unless he just really struggles in the spring, which I don't think he can do. But he's one of those guys I'm going to keep my eye on when it comes to spring stats. And then we have Okamoto, who he hit well in Japan consistently, but he's kind of smaller. I'm not 100% convinced he's going to hit for major power in MLB.
Yeah, he's a guy though that he's a little bit older, so maybe he'll be a little more ready to make an immediate contribution, and he's going to have a great lineup there in Toronto to support him. So
absolutely, he will. And then of course we have Tatsuya Mai, who's been a very accomplished pitcher in Japan, and he's not as accomplished as some of the other guys like Yamamoto, for example, who was World Series hero, of course, this last year. But he's got some talent, and it's going to be interesting to see how he falls in drafts. Not just the EJMA draft, but like baseball. Where do you slot him? How much risk do you take? Do you take him over some other established pitchers? Do you take him as like a prospect? How do you plan something like that?
Yeah, he's a tough guy to place, especially since there is questions about, even though he has the arms, questions about his size and maybe is he going to end up being a reliever, a late inning reliever. I know Houston's going to play him as a starter, but I think there is those questions, and to see how he makes the conversion to the majors.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk more specific. So I think our next podcast, we're going to do a mock draft, I think. And just like we did last year, before our draft in the EJMA, which is in March. I think it's, March 9th, is it?
That sounds about right.
Something like the early, mid-March, something around there.
Yeah.
We're going to get together and start our draft, and it's a really fun time. I love it. Who are some names on your list? Can you give me a couple guys, and I'll give a couple guys, and maybe we'll get 10 of them. Let's do it alphabetically.
Let's do it alphabetically. And these aren't necessarily going to be who we think are the top 10, but these we think are a number of players that should be considered as top 10 players.
Yeah. So
we'll do it alphabetically. That sounds good.
I think that's a good idea. And we did put some names together so we can do it alphabetically. So we're not saying this guy's going first, this guy's going second.
Yeah.
We're not doing that yet. We're still formulating our what if. And what's a couple guys for you? Let's start it off.
Well, let's start it off with Bubba Chandler. You talk about a guy with a great ceiling, a very live arm, somebody that has every opportunity to win a job in Pittsburgh this year and make a big impact. That's great young rotation. That's an exciting young team.
Yeah, it really is. I think he's kind of the consensus number one in our draft, I think. What do you think?
Just from talking to folks, I think everyone is assuming he's going to go first. Not that often do we have a player with his number one starter upside sitting there. So, go for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect him to be Paul Skeens, his teammate in Pittsburgh. But, that upside.
Skeens is just a generational talent that, it's unfair to compare anybody to Paul Skeens. But, really he should be a solid.
Well, who else are you thinking?
We talked about MI as a guy that's likely to be in the top 10. And then how about this next one, since we're going alphabetically, Dalen Lyle. What do you think about Dalen Lyle?
He hit .312 with C power against righties, and he's deranged in the outfield, deranged with a 0 arm, so he's not going to do a lot for you in the range, and we'll get to that later on. I have a bone to pick with you on that. But he has, what's interesting is he had 35-point triples window against righties. That's crazy.
Yeah, he might hit 30 some triples for whatever team drafts him.
That's like a 30 home run power guy right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not necessarily the biggest name, but he's a guy that played. He hit well in his age 22 season. This guy might have a lot of growth and development to still make, so he might be an impact player in the next decade for Washington.
Yeah, or he could fizzle out. It's we don't
Yeah,
know.
but regardless, you take him and he's gonna be impactful this season. And I think one of the things about maybe the top 10 players, there's a lot of guys in there that are not going to impact us this season. You're drafting for upside here.
Well, when I looked at Lyle's minor league history, he hit for a lot of triples in the minors. He seems to have that pedigree of success in the minors that shows he can maintain a high batting average with hitting extra bases. He won't hit for power. He's going to run, and he's going to get some triples, and he's going to do some really cool things out there. But not going to play defense, that's for sure.
Well, he can get better. Yeah.
Let me give you a couple names here. I would go alphabetically. Colson Montgomery. He is a middle infielder for the White Sox, and he is an interesting guy with a good defensive card and some power versus righties. One of the deficits I think that he has, though, is a lower batting average. And looking at his minor league attributes, he's hit for power, but hasn't hit for average. But he has the defense, so it's like upside, downside. You kind of look, where is that going to go?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at him, certainly he has age in his factor, but look at the fact that how few guys in the top 10 we're going to talk about have really impactful cards. He has an impactful card. He has great defense, a lot of power. He's going to be one of the most productive players from this draft.
Yeah. So next one on that list alphabetically is Munetaka Murakami. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, I apologize, Mr. Murakami, if you're watching this. I doubt he is.
You never know. He might be into our podcast.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, he's such an intriguing player. I mean, everyone dreams of power, and this guy it was 56 home runs in a season in Japan, and they don't play as many games as the major leagues. Yeah. So this guy has monster power. He's young. Maybe not that great on defense. Maybe he might take some time to adjust. Maybe hit a lower batting average. But how many home runs do you think this guy's gonna hit his rookie year?
We did briefly talk about him too, but I think he could hit 25, 30. I think that's a realistic number for him. He
maybe like 225 and 30 homers or something, or
225 to 250. I think. I don't think he has higher batting average upside than that. That's a guess.
Yeah.
And another name, and I'll get one more name because you did three. Carlos Narvaez. That guy is defense. He's a -3 arm behind the plate, and he hit pretty well too. He came out of nowhere from the Yankees system to Boston, and then becomes a starter for them. I mean, this kid looks really promising.
When we talk about impactful cards, I mean, his bat isn't terrible, and that -3 arm, everyone needs a -3 catcher, and only a few have it. Yes. I mean, so this guy can be an impact player right away for you. Are you concerned about maybe limited upside with him, or do you think this is sustainable defensively for him?
I'm going to say two words that are a name that's going to make Brian Feig, shake his fist at me, and it's Jonah Heim, and that is what he could end up doing. And Brian, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't do that to you. You're mad at me right now. I apologize. Jonah Heim had a fantastic card after the 2023 season when they won the World Series.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it kind of reminds me of that card. And Narvaez is pretty young. He's 25, I think. And he hit for pretty good power. And his minor league track record is up and down. One of the things he's always done is play defense. So will he be like Jonah Heim and fizzle, or will he maintain it for several years?
Yeah, if he's a -3, if he has that kind of arm, maybe he'll be like Patrick Bailey,
Maybe he's Patrick Bailey, who is a valuable presence as a defender. I mean, again, we'll get to that in a second. I love the topic of defense, and good and bad defense, whatever. Yeah.
What do you think of Kazuma Okamoto? We talked a little bit about him earlier. Do you see him being here in the top 10?
I don't know. He's a guy who's a wild card, I think. I think we put him in there as a maybe because to have this many guys, 3 guys that are Japanese imports in the top 10 is kind of maybe a stretch. I don't know. He would probably be the guy that would go lower than the other guys. I don't know, than the other Japanese guys. But he's a guy who's playing, I think he's going to be at third base, I think. And he's got a gig, unless he's terrible in the spring. He can be pretty good. I don't know. It's really hard to place him. He is the most difficult guy to place, in my opinion.
All right. Well, how about a guy who I believe is the only Jam in our draft, but I could certainly be wrong. This young guy is a Jam Plus closer for the Cubs, Daniel Palencia. What do you think about him?
Well, and a couple of years ago, I got him in another league, SMBL. I got him in the minors draft because I saw his minor league track record. And the reason I got him was because I saw the talent. I saw he threw just gas, and I saw potential with him. And he didn't do anything that year, and I eventually cut him. But he's kind of living up to that now because he throws gas. He's got the minor league numbers to be able to back that up. And it's really cool to see him put it together. The one thing about him that scares me is his injuries. Can he stay healthy? Is it repeatable? I think it's repeatable if he stays healthy.
Yeah, being the Jam Plus and lack of impact pitchers in this draft, he's young. I mean, I think there's teams. I think there might be contenders that will trade up to get him, or a team rebuilding will want a young closer. So
yeah, absolutely. And probably the next guy on the list here, and again, this is alphabetical. It definitely, I don't necessarily see him going ninth, but we'll get to that later. Is Cam Schlittler, Yankees arm, who came out last year and looked really refined for the Yankees. He looks pretty solid, and I think his upside is still yet to be found. He's still going, and I really like that, his arm.
yeah, he made an impact in the regular season and definitely in the postseason. He looks like he's ready to make a major impact this year. It looks like there's not going to be necessarily a growing curve on him. Let me ask you a question. A guy that performed so well in the postseason, Savage is another example. Do you feel like the expectations times are just a little too high because on that big stage they performed so well? Are we set for a letdown, or is he just talented enough where he's going to be good right away?
I think, and this is my personal skeptic opinion, is that I think he's set for a letdown. And I know by Mike's like, what? No, he's going to be great. Watch this. But I think he's set for a somewhat of a letdown, because we look at that kid from the Brewers last year. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. The really long.
Jacob Mizraowski?
Yes, bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. So he is the guy that I think that came out like gangbusters and then kind of evened off a little bit more. I think he's set for the same kind of thing. I think he's going to be a really good pitcher. He's got the talent and the pedigree. But is he going to be Paul Skeens? I don't think so. I really don't.
But he will be maybe a top 25, 30 pitcher, starting pitcher, do you think? Is that reasonable?
For this year? That's a good question. I don't know. What do you think of the comments? About that?
Yeah, let's see what people think. Is he going to be higher or lower than 3.5 WHIP ERA? Yeah.
Yeah.
3.5 is pretty solid. So
3.5 is really good. Yeah, you're talking about 3.5
ERA, that tough AL East also.
You're talking about WAR.
ERA. Yeah, 3.5 ERA, maybe like 118 WHIP, 120 WHIP, somewhere around there.
I think that's reasonable. I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
Okay.
To say he's going to be a sub 1 WHIP, that's for extraordinary players.
That's just a few pitchers in baseball that do that, right?
Yes.
Especially starters. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But yeah.
Right.
And
one more name I think we have, right?
Yeah, and this guy is kind of a latecomer for both of us, because you and I have been talking this off and on this entire offseason, and kind of a latecomer for both of us to look into and that's Sal Stewart. He's crept up with his minor league pedigree. And I know you've talked to him. You and I talked about him. What do you think about him?
I love power bats, and this guy is a power bat. So he may be a first baseman. I don't know if he's a good defender or not. Probably not. But I think he's a guy that will make an impact with his bat. He's playing in a hitter's park. I know they signed Eugenio Suarez, and that might eat into his playing time a little bit. With the logjam of some of the players they have, but I think if he's good enough, he's gonna get 500 at bats this year and make a big impact.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
Where is he
Suarez,
ranked in Baseball America? Was he at like 18 or 22 or something like that?
you can make him pull up the internet, RG. Come on, man. Let's see.
Oh, yeah. And I know he was somewhere around there in the top 20-ish players.
Yeah. So
Usually a guy that ranked that high is not going to slip too far in the draft, right?
he shouldn't. Let's see. Now I'm looking it up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I think while you're doing that, I just want to say, there's a group of, he has a few at bats, but like uncarded guys that you could gamble on greatness. You could gamble on a Murakami or a Sal Stewart or Imai or Okamoto. These are all guys that are not going to help you at all this year, but you have that choice. Do I gamble on greatness or do I take a carded guy like a Dalen Lyle who's going to impact my team right away?
I'm having problems pulling it up right now.
Oh,
and I'm not going to.
No worries.
Okay, but yeah, he was definitely on the top 25, I think, of that list. I remember looking at it thinking, man, that's pretty good to see Sal Stewart on that list. So those are 10 guys, the preview, that could be on the list. I don't know if they're all going to be in the top 10. It may vary. Dave and I are going to look into this more and figure out what we think. We may have another person join us for that. I don't know yet, but we definitely want to do a mock draft pretty soon. But I want to get back to something.
Everyone loves mock drafts.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. And Doug will give us a great one too this year, I'm sure. So.
And there's I want to pick a bone with you here, David, because this is something that we brought up a couple of times and is kind of a big debate among not just Dynasty League Baseball players, but Major League Baseball. And that's defense versus offense. How we value that. I mean, it can vary wildly. And we kind of touched on that with Narvaez. And, there's other prospects like Agustin Ramirez who hit crazy good, but as what is he, like a +4? I think he was.
I think he is a +4.
Yeah, he was incredibly bad defensively, but he has a killer bat.
Yeah.
I mean,
he had 23 homers, I think, or 25 homers. Yeah.
Good DH. But I mean, that's one of those places that catcher is a place that I have to have better defense. And because it's so critical. You can't live with a +4 behind the plate. You can't, in Major League Baseball, you can't have a guy who has a potato arm unless he's Mike Piazza.
Yeah, they're unusable at that position, if with a +4. But it is possible that he was a rookie. He'll work on it, and maybe would you accept a +1 or 2 if he hits 30 homers next year?
I might. And catcher is one of those positions that I personally, I feel uncomfortable with anything worse than a 0. +1 is starting to really kind of scare me a little bit. And again, Major League Baseball says the same thing. I mean, the Texas Rangers did not go back with Jonah Heim because of the same kind of thing. His defense had really fallen back, and his offense was dominant. So I mean, it's across. It's a shared thing we have as managers in Dynasty League Baseball, as Major League Baseball has. And about some other positions here? Let's talk about outfield. It's not a secret that I don't put a lot of value in the range, in the outfield especially, or in the infield practically. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in the outfield, in a perfect world, you'd love to have the A-range guy that hits 35 homers and is an MVP candidate, but we all don't have that luxury most of the time. So if you had a choice, you would take a great hitter who's a D range, right? Versus a guy that's maybe an A or a B+ that doesn't hit well.
Okay, a good example of that in our draft is Dalen Lyle.
Yeah, he's a D.
Dalen Lyle with him there versus someone who's going to play good defense like Brandon Lockridge, for example. He plays pretty good defense in the draft, and he can't hit a lick, but he can play some defense. Where do those guys go in comparison? I mean, Jacob Young, another guy like that.
I think most teams they value defense a lot, but if you have a guy that doesn't hit a lot and has great defense, most people value him as a backup.
Yeah.
I think it's something as a youth coach. I was a youth coach for 10 years. You put your 9 best hitters on the field. That's one of the first things that most coaches do. I don't know how high that goes through high school, college. You put your best hitters out there and try to find the best spots for them in the field. And that's what I've always tried to do with my team. I think it's more fun scoring runs.
I think
I don't like giving up a lot of runs, but it's a lot of fun having power and scoring a lot of runs.
That's what pitching's for. To prevent the runs.
So how do you feel about outfield range versus outfield arm? If you had a choice of having a guy with a really good arm or really good range, which direction would you go with?
That is a great question. I think it's actually personified in one of my trades in the offseason, and that's for Kyle Stowers. Stowers, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Anyway, I traded for him because his bat was incredible, especially against righties. But I knew he wasn't going to have great defense in the outfield. I mean, my analysis of him was he was a C -2, -1 kind of arm, and that's what he got. He got a C range in the corners, and he got I think it was a -1 or -2 in the corners as well. I can live with that, totally live with that in the outfield, and because of the minus arm, I value that so much more than range. And people probably listen to this probably think, "What? You crazy?" Well, look at it mathematically. When you look at the roles, you have such a small percent chance that the range comes up. Okay, it happens. We see ranges all the time in the games, but then you have a 1 in 9 chance, or actually 1 in 10 chance, because one's automatic.
Yeah, 1 in 10.
1 in 10 chance of hitting that one player that's a D range out there. So you minimize that much less of a chance to hit that guy as a D range or a C range or whatever. But if you hit something into the gap, let's say you get a double into the gap or a single, whatever else, and you're trying to stretch it, you have a guy out there with a -2 or -3 arm, that is more impactful. That comes up more, I think, than the range factors. And when
that absolutely would come up more. Absolutely.
Yeah, in a couple of years back when I was making my run to the World Series playing against you, that came up a ton. I think all 3 of my outfielders was -2, -3. And I was shutting down people running extra bases on me because of that. So now they're taking less bases. They're maybe I'll give a range hit 1 or 2 a game, but I'm also preventing extra bases with the outfielders with more chances to that happen. I prevent that more.
Well, let me ask you one more question. You'll accept the D range in the corners with a good offensive player. How about center field? Do you feel differently about that?
Man, and I just talked about that because it's a 1 in 10 chance, right? It's going to hit center field. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I think it can be more disastrous in center field if you have a worse play. If you look at the charts, for example, if you lack that coverage, they can turn into a triple real fast. And it can happen in all 3 corners, I guess, but in center field, it seems like it's more. I'd like to have the better defender in center. Like for me, I want to have minimum a C+. And that's, if I can't get it, great. But what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think C+ minimum in center. I put C's out there, but the very few times I've ever had an A on my team, it's been great. I had Luis Robert was an A one year in center. This year he's going to be a B+, which would be really nice to have hit that defense. But it is amazing. It covers a lot of ground out there because otherwise if they're D, I think 75-80% of the options are hits, and that hurts.
What do you think about Luis Robert's trade in MLB?
I think it's great. I think it's great for Luis Robert. I think he's going to be in a better lineup, a different scenery. I think he'll probably play better for the Mets. I'm not so sure about the return. I have Luis Angel Acuna, and I think it'll definitely open the door for more playing time for him. But, are you trading for the Luis Robert that hit 38 homers 2 years ago, or the Luis Robert that hasn't really hit well a lot since? So if it's the Luis Robert of the last 2 years, then you say, okay, it's probably a reasonable trade. But if he does return to the Luis Robert that is a Gold Glove center fielder and hits 30 homers, it was a terrible trade for the White Sox.
Yes, it's a definitely interesting trade. It's a straight up
And did they eat all the money or almost all of it?
I think they did. And
I think you can afford it, but
yeah, they can afford it. Man,
Yeah.
it was a big trade when I saw that come down. I wanted to ask you about that, and
Yeah,
totally
I mean, I
agree.
was hoping he'd get traded to it. Where there was all those rumors he was going to go to Cincinnati. I thought, oh, that'd be a great park for him to be in. But I
Yes,
think the Mets will be okay. I mean, at least he'll be part of a better lineup than he's been with the White Sox.
yeah, I think so
So,
too. Um, how about infield? How do you feel about first base, for example?
the one thing about first and even third is, if so many of those times, if you have a bad range, it just goes down the line and it's an
It's a
automatic double.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did have an A at Harper there last year, and it was great. I had a D at third base, but uh, no, I mean, obviously, I think everyone wants to have a great defensive shortstop, but I think it's important to have a decent range. I mean, I've had years where I've had Ds, and I've had years I've had As, but would you rather have a great defender in the infield or outfield? It
I
sounded like you think infield is more important.
I think, like you said, third base and first base to me are almost more important than even short and second. And it's crazy to say that because you put your best
It is
defenders.
crazy because everyone, yeah,
Yes, your best defenders, they play second and they play short, obviously. Is going back to grade school, when you have, youth teams, you play short if you're the best player. You play third if you have the best arm, that's how it works. Play first if you don't have a lot of range. And it's always kind of like that with these guys. And it's here we are in Dynasty League Baseball. You're right. If it gets past the guy at first or third, that's a double. And it can be hurt. It can hurt a lot in these games. I remember a long time ago, this is going to take you back here. I traded for a guy in the middle of the season, Travis Lee, and he was in
okay, yeah.
A range. And because I was so sick of giving up doubles at my D range first baseman, and I just wanted the extra defensive help. And he panned out really well for me. And ever since then, I hate having a bad range one. And right now I have Diaz playing first base for me, and he's D, and it hurts. I have Machado at third. He's a C, and I'm like, it's gonna hurt. So I'm wondering how it's gonna be for me. And I have a team that I think is gonna compete this year, and I'm concerned about that. I have Bo Bichette playing short, and he's not great defensively, but he's a great hitter. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how it's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give an example. I mean, this year I made a trade, and now I have a B plus shortstop, which is, I think, in my 25 years, the best defensive shortstop I've ever had. I've definitely never had an A. Maybe Edgar Renteria back in the day was a B or B plus, maybe once or twice. But the last 5 years, I've had J.P. Crawford, who 4 of those years was a D, and 1 of those years was a C plus. I survived. I made the playoffs. I won a World Series with him at shortstop. I mean, it doesn't hold you back, but I think it's definitely a position. It's nice to have better defense.
Well, let me ask you that. So, do you take J.P. Crawford's bat in his prime, or do you take Pokey Reese in his A range at short?
You know what? It served me well taking J.P. Crawford and his 360 on base and hitting a lot of doubles and having a lefty bat at shortstop, which I've always liked. Yeah, that served me well. I had opportunities to trade for better defensive shortstops that didn't hit as well, and I kept Crawford for 5 years.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting debate. That's another one. Put in the comments what you think, because this is offense and defense is maybe one of the biggest debates in our Dynasty League Baseball and in Major League Baseball. You have teams like the 85 Cardinals who could not hit for power to save their lives, except for Jack Clark. They couldn't hit for power. They were outstanding. You have the 65 Dodgers, could not hit for power. They had the best pitching staff ever seen. So, I mean, do you have to have great bats? Not really always, but it really helps. The 98 Yankees.
Yeah, I'd love to put a poll of our league members and to see what they value more.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about, we're talking about one or the other, not,
yeah, one or the other.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have both, like Bobby Witt Jr., to have.
Yeah. I mean, sure, I'll take that,
See, Brian, I got you one good there this time. See, it took me away and bringing it back for you. But yeah, so overall, I mean, you and I are on a very similar basis on this. I mean, we valued offense quite a bit.
I think we might be in the minority. I'm not
I
sure.
think so too. I think there's a lot of guys watching this thinking, you guys are crazy. I'll take my defense. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Doug tells me I don't care at all about defense. That's not true. I just have a preference of I'd rather have a slugger that with less defense. But
to use one of Doug's
it's not that I don't value it.
To use one of Doug's players like Ben Rice, good bat, mad defense, but he did play catcher, and he's,
that's also one of the steals of the draft, if not the steal of the draft.
I think that was the steal of the draft. I mean, I look back last year. I kind of want to talk about that too at some point, about the draft and who were the best picks, and
maybe we could do a little intro to the mock and just talk about last year's draft. What were the hits and misses? Maybe a couple of hits and misses. Yeah.
And Ben Rice's name will come up.
Yeah, that has to be the number one hit.
Well, I think Paul Skeens won one.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about like a later round guy that has become a superstar. Yeah, for sure. Paul Skeens is a generational player, and he lived up to it. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, I think that about wraps it up this week for us. And we want to do this in the regular with you guys. And like I said, we may have some guests. We may just do it ourselves. It depends on what's going on. I think the next one we're going to have is our mock draft. So stay tuned for that. Again, leave some comments. We want to hear what you guys think about the draft. And if you want to reveal who you're going to take, do it. But I mean, I wouldn't advise that, honestly. The people are going to snipe you here. Let's be honest. So yeah, we're going to do the mock draft. I'm not going to reveal who I'm going to take a second. David, you're going to have to pick for me.
I'm going to reveal who I'm taking with the Seattle 3, which is my first pick. So, I don't really have a stake in this as much as years past, since I don't pick till late. But maybe I'll be more objective because of that.
All right, I'll pencil you in for Michael Taylor. There we go.
Oh, that's not a bad pick for number 70 or whatever.
If he had A-range defense like he's had in the past, but he didn't.
Yeah. One could use that on your bench. So
he hits lefties. I actually scouted him from other league, SMBL, who has a draft coming up next week. So I've been looking at that.
Well, I'm excited for this mock draft, and maybe we could touch also on the upcoming season a little bit, and what that's looking like for our league. And I'm excited about this. So thanks for having me on again.
All right, sounds great, and see you all next time.
All right, bye guys.